Good morning. My name is Mary Jean Roberts. Welcome to Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We are so happy that you've chosen this space, this Sabbath, this sanctuary and time. We know that you have so many options on Sunday morning, and that you chose to be here with us is something we celebrate. We extend an especially warm welcome to any of our visitors, and we now invite everyone to turn and greet each other with elbows. Thank you. Thank you. It is so good to be together. Now, Rev Rose has a few more announcements. Thanks.
I have a few announcements this morning. First of all, I'm excited to announce our Christmas Eve plans. We will have a family service at 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve with lots of music and stories. All eligible people must be vaccinated in order to attend. And then we have our candlelit Christmas Eve service at 7 p.m. here in the sanctuary, and only vaccinated persons will be allowed to attend this service. But I would like to extend a special invitation to you all because I'm particularly excited about the special music we will be having, which will be the cello. So let us come together as we could not last year for a peaceful evening of music and reverence for this moment of peace before the new year comes. My next announcement is that today is the auction sermon. This means that the topic for the sermon today was auctioned off at our annual church auction. Is Ann McCleary in here? She's outside. But she was the one who bought the sermon, and her topic was Women in Early Christianity. Obviously, this is a big topic and could go many ways, but I have chosen a way that I believe will enlighten us to a deeper understanding of the role that women played in the religion. And now my last announcement is one of great joy. Next Sunday, we will be having a very special guest in our pulpit, none other than the Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons of All Souls KC. Now, I'm just going to sing her praises today because I think if I do it next week, she would find it annoying. So not only has Kendall had an incredible effect on Unitarian Universalism in her 40 years of ministry, having been ordained as a young woman before it was popular, and then she's led 3 strong solo ministers that have left those churches very healthy. She's trained 35 interns, and she's set the bar for what collegiality means for all of us ministers. I feel very lucky to be her closest colleague here in her final stage of her ministry because I get to reap all the benefits of her wisdom, and therefore, so do you. She has had a profound effect on our ministry here at SMUUCh. Her wisdom and insight are woven very strongly into the ways that I minister here. She has given her advice freely and mentorship to me, and honestly, she's one of my best friends. So I really hope that you all will be here next week to show her our appreciation for the ways that she has influenced our shared ministry here at SMUUCh. Jen Nelson has an announcement, which is that today, Just the Basics is occurring after the service in the Sager room. Okay, great. Come, let us worship. Please rise as you are willing and able for our opening hymn, number 1. May nothing evil cross this door.
As Richard Peace and his granddaughter Heidi come forward to light our chalice, we invite you to join in reading our covenant that is listed on the wall behind me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Our moment of wonder today comes from scientist and author Sam Keen, who tells the story of the air we breathe, which, he says, it turns out, is also the story of Earth and our existence on it. With every breath, you literally inhale the history of the world. Probably in the year around 50 of the Common Era, Mary Magdalene died, but the story of her last breath is still unfolding. In fact, you're probably inhaling some of it right now. Of these sextillions of molecules that are entering and leaving your lungs in any moment, some might very well bear the traces of her perfumes, particles exhaled by dinosaurs, even remnants of stardust from the universe's creation. He goes on to say that it is inevitable consequence of how many molecules you breathe in every time you take a breath and how long these molecules persist in the atmosphere. Over the course of one day, it is inevitable that you're going to inhale some of those molecules throughout your time. At standard room temperature, you are breathing roughly 25 sextillion molecules of air every time you breathe. That's 25 with 21 zeros behind it. When, let's say, Mary Magdalene exhaled her last breath, all those molecules spread out across the earth. First, perhaps in a band of prevailing winds at the same latitude of Jerusalem, then over the northern hemisphere, and then, in the course of only about 2 years, given air currents and circulation, it probably would have spread throughout the entire world.
Each month, we as a community take time to reflect on a theme. The children do this in their classes, and we do it here in worship and in our small groups. This month, the theme is opening to joy. When I think about opening to joy, I think about the joy and appreciation my profession has given me for the power of my own breath. Throughout the words I'm about to share with you now, I will be taking a lot of big, deep breaths, like a lot of big, deep breaths. And I invite you to take them with me so that I don't feel as awkward. But if you aren't feeling it, that's okay too. You can just listen. It will become clearer, the why behind the breathing as I go on. I am a certified anesthesiologist assistant, which is a very long way to say that I am the person that gives you the medicine that keeps you asleep during surgery. More specifically, one of the main facets of my job is to be the manager of your breathing while you're asleep. It is an awe-inspiring thing to get to do. Being a manager of breathing for more than 10 years has proven to me time and time again how important the simple exchange of oxygen is in our lives. In my career, I have several times been able to deliver just 2 or 3 great big deep breaths and bring someone back from the edge of death. I can't ever unsee or unlearn the connection between living and breathing. While I am passionate about the work I get to do, I figured my deep knowledge managing other people's breathing was a skill set I would never take out of the operating room. But then, very reluctantly and over a number of years, I got into meditating. Getting into meditating still shows my bias as meditation being something that those people over there do, but not me, not type A, science-minded, analytical me. Nevertheless, something kept drawing me in, and slowly but surely I let my guard down and began to get curious about what all this meditation nonsense had to offer me. That was a few years ago, and while I am by no means a guru, I am now a mom who tells her kids to take some big deep breaths when they're about to lose it, and I personally try to sit quietly at least a couple times a day and notice my own breathing. I know how good it feels. So, if you are like me and someone who struggles to appreciate themselves as a meditator, I want to offer a small piece of our human anatomy and physiology that has helped me make sense of deep breathing and allowed me to ease myself into the meditation pool. First, I want to dispel the imagery that our lungs inflate like a balloon with a hole in the middle. This is just not the best analogy. Your lungs, of which you have 2, lie on either side of your chest. And they inflate more like rising balls of bread dough with many little pockets of air within them. When you breathe in, the air comes into your nose or your mouth, travels down the back of your throat and into your trachea. It follows your trachea down and down as it splits, and finally the air is dumped into those tiny air pockets, filling them. There are millions of these tiny air pockets. The deeper and longer you breathe in, the more these air pockets can fill up with air. Deep, slow breaths have the potential to rise and expand your lungs to their fullest capacity. Now, here is the interesting bridge that explains why everyone out there is so focused on telling us to take big, deep breaths while we're meditating. When our lungs rise like that bread dough analogy, having filled all those millions of pockets of air, our lungs reach a maximum capacity. Once fully risen, our lungs activate a nerve you have likely heard before, the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the train conductor of a part of our nervous system called the parasympathetic system. You might have heard the parasympathetic system called the rest and digest system because it controls our body's ability to rest, relax, and return to baseline after a stressful experience. The parasympathetic system is the train, and the vagus nerve is its conductor. Once activated, the vagus nerve rolls into action and pulls along our parasympathetic train, our rest and digest system. By taking that big, deep breath, we are beginning a cascade of signals that tell our body we are entering a time of calm. Let me say that again, because this really clarified things for me personally. Unlike the breaths you take when you're anxious or stressed, when you take a big, deep breath, it sends a message to our vagus nerve that it is time to rest and relax our body. The vagus nerve gets this message from our lungs and appropriately responds by activating the parasympathetic train. The parasympathetic system's first stop is back in our lungs as it slows our breathing pattern, allowing us to take fewer but deeper breaths. But the response of the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic train doesn't stop in our lungs. After it passes through the lungs and slows our breathing pattern, it then heads on to the heart and lowers our heart rate, and then the body, lowering our blood pressure, and then our brains, reducing anxious feelings, and on until we are in a parasympathetic meditative bliss. For me, this clarifies why deep breathing is so integrated into meditative practices. I hope this helps you too.
I now invite you to join me for a moment of silence, closing your eyes, putting your feet flat on the floor. We'll just take a second to become aware of our own breathing. You can take deep breaths into your belly, imagining that your belly's like a balloon filling with water. That was exciting. allowing yourself to ground down into the earth. Noticing if you can feel all the tiny ways that your body moves as you breathe. Can you feel your shoulders move? Can you feel your feet move? Noticing if, as you breathe in, you can breathe in peace, and as you breathe out, if you can breathe out love. Taking a second to experience this feeling of safety in your body. If you're struggling to do that, you can find a spot in your body that feels no pain at all. Just focus on the ease of that place. Letting the corners of your lips turn up. Breathing in peace. Breathing out love. I'll invite you to put your hand over your own heart, drawing your attention to the warm sensation, and then please remain seated while we sing our meditative hymn, Meditation on Breathing. This is the time in our service when we draw to heart and mind those in our midst who are suffering and those who feel the sweet relief of their burdens easing. Today we think of those who lost their lives to the tornadoes in Kentucky this week. We hope that sufficient aid, support, and love goes to the families and communities who've lost so much and so many loved ones. We continue to extend our endless support to our public school teachers, counselors, principals, and students. In the wake of the pandemic and now the presence of school shootings once more, we know that many of our precious teachers have been given slim choices in how to balance their own wellness and their vocation. We hope that this profession can find healing and that our society can keep strong before us our highest resolve to keep the children at the center of our decision-making. We give our love to those untangling themselves from relationships that no longer serve them. We grieve for the loss of energy and time that chronic illness take on the body and mind, and our hearts go out to all who are struggling to make ends meet, especially at this time of year. We extend our gratitude to people who make caring for children their primary spiritual practice, and we join in wonder with all people who are bravely facing their final days. And as always, we rejoice over the exquisite beauty in this world, as small or life-changing as each piece of beauty might be. And now I invite you to come forward and briefly share with the world 2 to 3 sentences, a rare joy or a profound sorrow, and light a candle.
I'm Diane Myers. I have 2 candles today. One is a candle of great joy. Our rainbow baby Quinn is 8 today. And a candle of great sorrow. My dear friend Brett lost her husband this week in an accident while he was going to treat patients.
This moment is a moment of joy for me, or a sorrow, I'm not sure which. One of both, actually. The last time I shared with a candle was 21 years ago when my first grandchild was born, so it's a rare moment for me. I'm Danny Hewitt. I've been here since 2002 as a member of this church, and I want to share a candle of sorrow for the passing of my ex-wife on December 2nd, Rebecca Sue Barrett Hewitt. And we'd been married for 32 years. And so I shared in a memorial service with my daughters and grandchildren yesterday in her honor. And I was very glad to be there to comfort my daughters in their sorrow. And a great joy is for my current wife, Patricia Sue Duggan. Been married for 17 years, and I'm very grateful for her and her sharing in that experience of the loss of my former wife.
My name's Jackie Barrett, and I light this candle in a joy of remembrance that it's been 10 years of Friday that I lost my father, so I wanted to light a candle of joy for his remembrance.
I'm Phil Hannon, lighting a candle of sorrow, remembrance for a neighbor and former co-worker of mine who died this week after about a 6-month battle with a fairly rare disease.
I light the remaining candles for all the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts.
It is such a delight to be with you today. I'm going to share a song that I wrote celebrating the most basic and wonderful gifts that we receive and give to each other. I'm going to invite you to create this song with me. It's involving love, hope, light, and peace. And so my wife Linda is up here to lead us in the sign language for those when they're the chorus. It happens in the chorus. We invite you to, here's love, peace, hope, cross your fingers, and my favorite, light. In this holy season, may you pause to remember all the gifts you have received, ones that you were given long before your birth, and those that you receive each day on earth. May you know the gift of love along the way. May you share the gift of peace this day. May you find the gift of hope to give away. May you spread the gift of light, we pray. Every wondrous day, may you pause to remember all the gifts you have received, ones that you were given long before your birth, and those that you receive each day on earth. May you know the gift of love along the way. May you share the gift of peace this day. May you find the gift of hope to give away. May you spread the gift of light, we pray. The gift of love and peace and hope and light. Gift of love, gift of peace, gift of hope, gift of light. Gift of love, gift of peace, gift of hope. May you spread the gift of light.
Our reading today comes from Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist Zen master in his 90s, still living in his Vietnam temple community. People usually consider walking on water or in thin air a miracle. But I think the real miracle is not to walk either on water or in thin air, but to walk on earth. Every day we are engaged in the miracles which we don't even recognize. A blue sky, white clouds, green leaves, the black, curious eyes of a child, our own two eyes. All is a miracle.
Searching is one of our core Unitarian Universalist beliefs. We all come here because we seek to experience the holy, because we hope that when we come to church, we will leave having found an embodiment, a sense of connectivity, of longevity, or peacefulness. We get to search because we are part of a living tradition, and we believe that it is within each moment, each crossing of time and space, that new understandings of the divine can emerge. That each time we gather, there is a conversation that could only be had with the very people who are in this very room at this very moment. That each person is privileged to their own truth. That each of us has the power to interpret ancient stories. Each of us has holy glasses that we can put on our own two eyes, the lens through which our world is searched in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. How beautiful is Unitarian Universalism? And how important it is that we exist in the tapestry that is religion in the world today. Because we, as a people, have played a very important role in the religious and social discourse over the centuries. Now, recently I was chatting with my neighbor about church history, bless her heart, because that's what it means to have me as a neighbor. As I was enlightening her to some of the more fascinating junctures of Unitarian Universalist history, she stopped and exclaimed, "Wait, your religion is an actual religion?" I was like, what do you think I do? Yes, it's an actual religion rooted in actual beliefs that have actually had a dramatic effect on the world that you and I live in. Public education, reason, healthcare, democracy, gender equality, these are social movements that have been led by Unitarian Universalists, haltingly and not without our own issues. But as long as we're on the topic of church history, and I've got your attention, I want to take us on a backwards journey through time, working our way back to the early Christian women that I was tasked with writing about today, and examine the ways that their ministries are actually alive and well today. Our first stop on our journey backwards is 600 years ago. We are going to remember the birth of Unitarianism and Universalism in Europe. Now, up until that point, everyone was Catholic, and society was, as many of you were as well, I'm sure, and society was organized as the Catholics wanted it until the printing press was invented, and then people could search these texts that were being used to organize society and create laws. This sparked the Protestant Reformation, and amongst all of these Protestants, we, Unitarians and Universalists, were the far left Protestants, protesting the Trinity, the vengeful God, and dogma, and promoting science, reason, social equality, and religious pluralism. For when we searched the texts, what we saw was, like our Jewish and Muslim cousins, that there was no Trinity, and thus we became Unitarians. But more than this, when we read the Bible, we found that God themselves was not only a source of enduring goodness in the people's lives, but that God's character was an ever-evolving being itself. That an openness is a central facet to the divine, that the divine's own character is not sealed, that in each juncture of time and space in these great myths, the sacred is moving and growing alongside of us, because of us, following us, searching with us. And thus, our Unitarian Universalist faith could be measured by the extent to which we are able to remain open to the ever-unfolding possibilities of spiritual and relational growth. It is our persistence to remain open in the difficulties of the search that marks our faith. For it is the searching that keeps us fresh. It is the searching that keeps us alive. It is the searching that keeps us healthy. Now, what is it that keeps us fresh? What is it that keeps us alive? What is it that keeps us healthy? For centuries and even millennia, people have been searching these very specific texts of the great books. And beyond that, people have been searching for the texts that were left out of this great text, frustrated with the process that decided what would become canon or get to be part of the Bible. Because what the Roman Catholic Church chose to canonize is really a reflection of their own agenda and power structure of the Roman Empire. It's ironic, really, because the ministry of Jesus was anti-empirical, so it's frustrating that the power structures of Roman society were preserved passively simply by whose voices were preserved. For most of the writings that were included, and therefore preserved, were the writings of male persons, except for maybe the Song of Solomon, which I'm pretty sure was written by a woman. And thus it seems at first glance that most of the leadership in the early Christian movement were male persons, and that women were only allowed to hover nearby because of Jesus' generous elevation of them out of their lowly status. But if we search even just a little bit into the history of Judaism, we find that it was actually around the time of Jesus that Judaism switched from a patrilineal to a matrilineal society. That the women who surrounded Jesus were in fact very empowered in their world, that they could hold property, that names and ethnicity followed the mother's line, and in fact that the financiers of the early Christian movement were the women who made sure that the lights stayed on, so to speak. So we have to wonder, were their voices just incongruent enough with the Roman social structure that they were discarded and destroyed? And in what ways have these losses impaired us as a society today? What fragility in the canonization process have led us to this point in our world where we all are continuing to struggle with a disturbing social structure? How was the original story and meaning and theology watered down or shifted away from a radical empowerment of marginalized voices? And who were these women? And what did they think? Well, it has been found that in the early Christian communities, women and people of the lowest caste were often leaders in the churches, called mothers of the synagogue, or simply the more gender-neutral elder. Almost all of the house churches named in the New Testament are identified by the names of the women who apparently led them: Chloe, Nympha, Apphia, Priscilla, Lydia, Mary, the mother of Mark. But despite these early examples of strong female leadership in the early Christian movement, somehow we end up with witches being burned on religious grounds, and then 2,100 years of male-only priesthood in the Catholic Church. We've got portraits of Mary from the 3rd century that depict her staring right into the beholder's eyes, strong and confident. And then we get to the 9th century, where she has downcast eyes in a demure posture. And then in the 1960s, with Vatican II, they decreed that statues of Mary must be smaller than statues of Jesus. Wah, wah. But let's talk about these Marys. For both the Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene were powerful members of Jesus' family, whose embodied and mystical presence in life was both mystical and were the first-hand account of his life. They show that women were indeed central influences on the religion, and in the early writings, it shows that they were even depicted as more intimately tied to God and are the central characters of the epic themselves. For example, let's start with Mother Mary. In the ancient texts, it has been noted that there is a parallel between the stories of Mary, Mother of Jesus, and Abraham. Both received a divine annunciation regarding their miraculously conceived firstborn son. Jesus carried the wood of his own sacrifice on his back up the mountain, just like Isaac did. Mary stood on top of Golgotha at her son's sacrifice, just as Abraham stood on top of Mount Moriah, which could mean that the gospel authors saw Mary as the new Abraham. And after all, let us remember that Jesus was not the first person in his family who was immaculately conceived. Mary's own mother, Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, also had a virgin birth, making Mary perhaps the child of God herself? Question mark? This has all somehow been just looked over. And as for Mary Magdalene, nowhere does it say that Mary Magdalene was a sex worker. This is a bizarre shaming of her that began in the year 600 in order to demote her role, and boy, are we still dealing with the loss of her voice from this story. Because it turns out that her role was actually quite a big one, and her interpretation of the ministry profound. Because did you know that there is a gospel of Mary? It was written at the same time as the other gospels, the earliest writings, alongside the Gospel of John. After all, in this great myth, she was the first person to witness Jesus ascend, was his closest confidant, and, like the wife of Muhammad, Khadijah, probably financed some of the operation. But perhaps all the copies of her gospel were destroyed because this gospel was lost to society until 1868, when someone was at an antique mall and happened to buy it. A 5th century papyrus codex written in Coptic that is missing pages and yet offers us an incredible perspective on the early ministry and theology. But then, after it was found, it still wasn't published for public consumption for 100 years until the 1980s. And now, before I read part of it to you, I want to just pause here because what I found in this text was shocking to me. I've wished for many years to find an interpretation of the Christian scriptures that reflect what I grew up with as a Unitarian Universalist. It is written as a dialogue, back and forth, with the apostles questioning Mary Magdalene on what Jesus told her. So they first ask, "Tell us about matter. Will it survive or not?" Mary recounts that Jesus said, "All of nature with its forms and creatures exist together and are interwoven with each other," which sounds a lot like the interdependent web of all life. Next, the apostles ask, what is the sin of this world? Mary recounts that Jesus said, "Sin does not exist. You only bring it into manifestation when you act in ways that are against nature. It is for this reason that the good has come among you, pursuing its own essence within nature in order to reunite everything to its origin." And that sounds a lot like Universalism. Then, Mary, throughout the text, refers to Jesus as the Son of Humanity, which implies that Jesus was human, which is the fundamental theology of Unitarianism and humanism. And then if that's not enough, as another poet puts it, Mary Magdalene confesses that you must realize that earth unfolds its powers and properties in union. There is one heart, one being, one will, one God, all in all. Finally, Mary goes on to say that the goal, spiritually, is to find contentment at the level of the heart. And if you are discouraged, take heart in the presence of the image of your own true nature. And that sounds a lot like each person being privileged to their own truth. So is my religion a real religion? Mary Magdalene, early Christian minister, seems to think so. Universalists also were the first white Protestant denomination to ordain a woman. So perhaps these messages of equality and empowerment amongst all people have stayed alive despite it all. After all, here I am, preaching a very similar message. For Jesus was out here equalizing people, deeply engaged, loving women, listening to women, taking our personhood and thoughts seriously, raising up our voices. So in my research for this sermon on women in early Christianity, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that Christianity itself hinges on the idea that women in leadership are indeed necessary for a full interpretation of Revelation, and that these early leaders of the movement were doing what we women are doing now, which is being theologians and leaders. Because here we have a gospel written out of the canon, perhaps destroyed, that reflects a truth that has persisted throughout the ages, that there is a great oneness, that dogma helps no one, that humanity itself is hugely powerful when it comes to creating the beloved community, that each time we gather, there is a conversation that could only be had with the very people who are in this very room at this very moment. And at this juncture in human history, when we are called to find a new way in order to move forward together as a globe, the room is indeed a very big one. With people of every caste and class and race and gender being necessary for us to fully discern what is holy. For within each moment, each crossing of time and space, new understandings of the divine emerge. But without the fullness of the story, without the fullness of our voices, our holiness cannot be full. So let us stay searching. Let us stay open to one another, to finding understanding, to remember that it's not they who walk on water that perform miracles, but it is they who walk on earth in right relationship, living past the reflections of society. We must break these apart and realize that indeed our religion is a way, if only we can live it. Blessed be, and amen. You guys.
The work of the church depends on us, our generosity of time, wisdom, and financial resources. We invite you to give generously to support the ongoing work of the church. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared values.
All we have is this moment in time. We know this for certain in our lives. Only one brief, beautiful moment in time. What is it speaking to you? I wanna listen hard. I wanna live out loud. I wanna go gently on the earth. I wanna be proud of these moments, all strong together, like the lights along the way, like the lights along the way. All we have is one humankind. We know this for certain in our lives. Only one mass of people, all intertwined. Who is calling to you? I wanna listen hard. I wanna live out loud. I wanna go gently on the earth. I wanna be proud of these moments, all strung together, like the lights along the way, like the lights along the way. So much radiance shining down, leading forward, beaming on, and all we have is this moment divine. We know this for certain in our lives. Only one what will you choose to do? I wanna listen hard. I wanna live out loud. I wanna go gently on the earth. I wanna be proud of these moments, all strung together, like the lights along the way, like the lights along the way, like the lights along the way.
we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of our community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us in our hearts until we are together again.
Please rise as you are willing and able for hymn number 231, Angels We Have Heard on High. This week, remember to breathe in peace and breathe out love. Go in peace.
May your cats have no more fur balls. May your basements all stay dry. May your joints remain stable. May you eat some humble pie. May you dance and go on road trips. May your allergies go away. May you sometimes surprise yourself. May gratitude light your way. May you go on lots of picnics. May you sleep to the sound of rain. May squirrels not eat your birdseed. May regrets not cause you pain. May you renew your license easily. May you let someone else win. May you sometimes surprise yourself. Be brave and kind again. Be brave and kind again. May all your weeds be wildflowers. May your darkness lead to light. May you master new technology. May sweet birds sing in the night. May time sometimes seem timeless. May true friends hold your hand. May you remember all your passwords.